massive high school towers all over all the other buildings in the bustling urban area. It's like the school stands at the center of the entire world. Is this the beginning of the fucking game? Hope's Peak Academy. It brings in top... This is definitely the beginning of the fucking game. What happened? It brings in top students from every field imaginable, a government-funded school of privilege. They say that if you come here and manage to graduate, you'll be set for life. With hundreds of years of tradition, it sends the cream of the crop into the workforce every year. It was built to raise hope in the future's nation, or the nation's future rather, which makes Hope's Peak a fitting name. What the fuck is this? Come on! There are two things you need to attend this school. One, you have to already be attending high school. Two, you have to be very best at what you do. No ordinary student can enroll here. The only way is if you're scouted by the school itself. Trying to rush through this because this is like, you know, this is exactly the same as the beginning, I imagine. But, why are we suddenly back here, or why are we thinking of this? And standing there at the gate of the ultimate school filled with the ultimate students was me, a nobody. What? Where am I? I woke up with my head resting on top of a hard wooden desk. This really seems like the beginning, right? Remember when we fell asleep? What if this is all a dream? What if everything, let's say we were like in a induced coma or something? Everything is just playing out in a not in the real world, but in someone's, I don't know. I don't think it's called an alternate reality or something, but like in a, you know, like, you know how sometimes you see it in, I've seen it in series and whatnot, you know, when people are like in those liquid filled, like their body is sort of dead but their brain are still alive. Like, it could be that we were in an induced coma and our mind was still alive, and something like that entire scenario basically played out in all of our heads and all of our minds were together, so everyone is in the same coma-like state. But how is it all connected? I'm not entirely sure what the word is that I'm looking for. I don't think it's called like an alternate reality or something. I don't know. It's definitely something that seems somewhat familiar and could be plausible, I guess. And then when you die, you just basically wake up. It's like sort of game over. It's like a game in your head almost. My body felt heavy because this is the exact same point when I don't remember the beginning too well, but I have a feeling that we entered a classroom and we fell asleep or something, right? This is definitely, it feels like the exact same place, the exact same seat. It wouldn't be weird for me to zonk off in the middle of some boring class or whatever. And it seems like because we saw that beginning just now, that is, you know, that this is like the same scenario, except now we've woken up and we've probably maybe even forgotten about everything that has just happened. Therefore, it just feels like, oh, the beginning just happened, we fell asleep, and now we woke up. Meaning basically the entire freaking game, from chapter 1 to chapter 5, hasn't really happened. It has happened, but we don't remember it. Is that what's going on? What was I doing asleep here just now? Unless everything was just a fucking dream. But I don't guess that's the case. It wasn't any classroom I'd ever been in before. What the heck is going on? Ugh. No, okay, definitely not. What? I'm so, like, torn, mind-fucked. Finally. I could finally feel my mind and body start to come back together again. And then, what if... And now we're just back into this? What? I mean, that sentence feels like it's really important. I finally feel my mind and body start to come together again. Meaning that it felt like they were apart. And because they were apart, that's when we had that's when we saw that thing from just now, right? Like it was just the beginning, like nothing has sort of happened. Or this particular thing, the entire story with Monokuma and shit hasn't happened. What? And then I was awake. Or was this just another dream? A dream inside a hopeless nightmare? No, this isn't a dream. I could tell because the stench invading my nostrils was too powerful for a dream. What an awful smell. I was in a vast, dark cavern with the barest hint of light seeping in. Trash was piled high all across the area. This must be some kind of underground garbage pit. A heck of a situation to find myself in. But that was just the beginning of my problems. Was I going to be stuck in there till I wasted away and died? No! I can't let that happen. Not after what my good friend went through to save me. I remembered all too well what had happened. Alter Ego saved me. He used up the last little bit of his strength to do it. Thank you, Alter Ego. So I can't give up now. For myself. And for my friend. And with that, my pursuit of survival began. First up was to start looking for a way out of here. Would it be just as simple as it is that it's the door? Uh-oh. It's locked. Of course it is. No matter how many times I pushed, or pulled, or kicked at it, it didn't budge. Getting out of here isn't gonna be that easy. Well, if I'm not getting out of here anytime soon, I decided to look around for some food. There's plenty of food here, but it's all rotten. But that was pointless too. Next I searched for some water. How can I be sure which liquids I can drink, and which ones are all around a bad idea? Again, pointless. I feel like I'm blocked in on all sides. But that's still not enough reason to give up. Because I'm still alive. As long as I'm alive, I'll never give up. Because this is like sort of like a second chance, right? That Alter Ego gave us. After making that proud declaration, the next thing I decided to do was go to sleep. My sleep was deep and uninterrupted. That was my only way to preserve what little strength I had left after not being able to eat or drink. I can't be sure, but I think at least a full day had to have passed. All I did was sleep, and sleep. It was like I was waiting for some kind of sign to come falling out of the sky. However, what fell from the sky wasn't a sign. Not exactly. The crunch! What the? The strange sound pierced my silent isolation, jarring me awake. As I watched, a pile of garbage jostled and formed an odd shape. Did something fall down over there? Something fell from up above. What could it have been? Fresh garbage. Thanks, guys. Like all the way from up there, from the garbage thingy. And there are a lot of things that I actually didn't check out. This is a desk. It's probably the one that fell down here with me. Could be the one that we sat. Oh yeah, the one that we sat in, of course. It's a rocket and a tank. I better not think too much about what I'm seeing down here. What else? Airplane? This is part of an airplane? Is that an airplane? What the fuck? How did something wind up in like that in the school's garbage pit? Alright, now we check out this fresh pile of garbage. Did a giant piece of trash just fall down here? I carefully stretched my hand outward toward whatever it was that had tumbled down here with me.
Just a second.
What? Kyoko? A giant piece of trash? Rude. Before she even emerged from the pile of garbage, I knew who it was. Kyoko, really?
It smells awful.
Cup ramen on her head. Cup noodles. Kyoko?
Indeed.
You look like you're doing better than I expected. What? What are you doing here?
So...
Isn't it obvious? I'm here to help you. I'm glad to hear that, Kyoko. You got a bit of garbage in your hair. She gave her head a quick, sharp shake to get rid of the trash, then faced me again.
Hey,
First, I have something for you. Go ahead and eat it. We can talk once you're finished. Oh, thank you, water and food. I snatched the bread and water that she was holding out for me. Within seconds, it was in my mouth and making its way towards my stomach. Whew, that really hit the spot. Now I've got all the energy I need to keep going. So you still haven't given up then? Of course not! After all, the fact that I can keep going forward is about all I'm good at. Well, that's not such a bad thing to be good at. Alright, let's talk with her. But Kyoko, why'd you come to rescue me? Does she feel some guilt?
so...
To pay a debt. Or no, to atone. Atone?
You...
During the trial, even though you knew I was lying, you didn't say anything. That's because I feel like this entire thing is bigger than just us, you know? So, you knew that I knew.
Indeed.
But even though I knew, I did nothing to help you.
I...
Abandoned you. Don't say that! You didn't abandon me! I'm a willing sacrifice for the greater good, it's alright. No, that's exactly what I did. I abandoned you in order to save my own life. You were trying to save me, and I couldn't bring myself to do the same for you.
However...
But listen, not that I'm trying to make excuses, but there was a reason that I had to survive, no matter the cost. Reaction. Why did you have to survive?
It's true.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you everything. The reason I have to survive
In other words...
is so that I can do whatever I came to this school to do. What? I made up my mind to come to Hope's Peak Academy for one very important reason. What is that? So you have some reason for coming to Hope's Peak?
Indeed.
That's right. At least, I did once. Probably her reason for coming to this school before, you know, knowing that it would lead into this shit. Because the thing is, like, everybody else sort of was recruited here, right? Everybody had an ultimate, but Kyoko doesn't appear to have one. So I guess she has a reason for coming here rather than being selected. But how was she accepted into the school then? Because it only picks specific elites, you know? The best of the best, the cream of the crop. Once? Until recently, I'd forgotten what I was. So I guess her reason for still being selected, she just forgot about it. She's definitely an ultimate something, which she was selected for to come here, but after that she forgot. You forgot? But that's... I had no memory of what my purpose was. No memory? That's impossible! Amnesia? Then, is it really true? You lost your memory?
Makoto.
Do you remember, Makoto? Do you remember the first thing that happened to each of us as soon as we arrived at this school? The first thing that we were all sort of knocked out, right? You're talking about when we fainted, right? I fainted, and when I woke up, I was trapped here.
That's right.
I fainted too, and when I woke up, I noticed a strange feeling of separation within myself. A disconnect. This is what if like the entire, you know? Okay, if we go by sort of the thing that I mentioned before, right? That we're actually still asleep or something, and that... What if our minds were actually just uploaded within a game? Let's call it that. That our minds are uploaded within a game, and for Kyoko, for some reason, it didn't successfully work. Therefore, she feels this separation, that she is partially in a game and partially in the real world or something like that. Oh, what? I definitely feel like, especially from that scene in the beginning, that there is something like that. Like, this is not really... There is something, like, not that this is a different world, but there's just something about it that's not connected with the real world. What? I can't quite put my finger on, but I sort of have a feeling that...
It would seem...
Thinking back on it now, at that point, my memory was gone. Like, you know, what if just part of a USB, like, was a corrupt file or something? Oh, fuck it, we don't have Kyoko's memory. Well, let's just play it without her. What if we're actually just controlling this shit, you know? We're making... I don't know. At that time, I'd forgotten. I couldn't remember why I'd come to this school. And I couldn't remember what my ultimate ability was. But what would make you forget all that?
Hey.
Strange, isn't it? It's hard to imagine it happened by chance. It seems much too convenient. Or it could be that it's planned indeed. Because it seems too, yeah, I guess. Are you saying that you lost your memory because...
Indeed.
I don't think. I'm positive it was the work of the mastermind. They stole my memory. But why would they do that, or want to do that? There's only one reason I can come up with, because she could possibly... Whatever her ultimate is, she could possibly, you know... Her ultimate has some way of ruining this entire thing, which is probably why she's the ultimate detective, but she still has that inner urge in her that wants to discover mysteries. It could be that, but then why did they recruit her? Why you could have just simply avoided, not, you know, that if there's one person here that has an ultimate that could possibly ruin your plans as a mastermind, why just not invite this girl to come over here, right? Why go through all the trouble of inviting her here, get rid of her memory, and just bring her here? Like, you can get some other else. There are probably other ultimates, right? Because of my purpose and my ability, somehow they would interfere with the mastermind's plan, exactly. So the mastermind just stole them from you?
However...
And it could also mean, somehow, my memories may be connected to the mystery of the school and the mastermind. That's true, that she would somehow, if she had her memories, that she would just realize, like, oh wait, maybe she knows what happened with the school, maybe she knows the mastermind in some way, therefore to avoid that, they just, you know, they just got rid of her memory. But then once again, why invite her? I don't get that part. Which is why I have to get them back. That's why I've been investigating things by myself this whole time. But if what you say is true, why didn't you ask the rest of us to help you?
Why is that?
If I did that, we all worked as one, the mastermind would have noticed right away. Plus, there's always a chance that the mastermind is actually one of us. What?
Correct.
Well, don't make too big of a deal of it. It's just a possibility. What if... Okay, this is probably like the most ridiculous thing I'll ever say, but what if the mastermind is actually Hiro, and his entire fact that he is so fucking dumb and stupid is actually just an act? Nah. Like, I just want to believe that there's something more to Hiro than just him, you know, being so incredibly stupid. I just feel like he can't really be that stupid, can you? Come on, Hiro. But since it is a possibility, we can't ignore it, right? The mastermind, one of us. If she believed that, then of course she couldn't trust anyone else around her, and that is why she was so hesitant to tell us in the first place. In which case, it only makes sense that she would look into her missing memory by herself.
However...
That being said, there was a limit to what I could do by myself, which is why I asked you to help. But why me? Because among everyone, you were least likely to be the mastermind. That was just intuition. But I see. Your intuition was right though. There's no way an ordinary kid like me could have been the mastermind.
I understand.
Oh, this is the other Makoto, right? That we saw in our dream. I understand. I still don't know what he
I
understands
should
though.
understand everything.
What? I should understand everything.
My goal isn't to get out of here. It's to stay here.
Even after that class trial, I don't feel like I understand exactly what he means with those words. Ugh. It's just like the dream I had before. But why did that just happen?
Listen,
Are you okay? Oh yeah, it's nothing. It is nothing, right? No, it definitely is something. But we don't know what.
hey,
Or I don't know what. Even now, I still trust you, you know? It's just, I'm not used to relying on others.
correct.
I know I have never asked you for help the right way, so I understand if you're not convinced. Honestly, I was convinced. I think that's just her personality, exactly. You said you had a reason for doing all that investigating on your own. So, how did that turn out? Were you able to remember
So-
anything? I think there's still a lot I don't remember, but at the very least, I was finally able to recall my purpose and my ability. What is it? You mentioned your ability. My ability. What everyone should have known me for. I'm the ultimate detective. Oh, okay. That's awesome. I mean, it's kind of obvious in a way, but because that was my gut feeling since the very beginning. Because she was so intuitive to things. Like it just all came natural to her. She just knew, like, okay, I gotta do this, you know. Definitely ultimate detective. Awesome. The ultimate detective?
Correct.
And the reason I came to Hope Speak Academy, was to ultimately, okay, that makes sense, yes. The reason she came here then is to figure out sort of what happened, why Hope Speak Academy originally closed down, basically to look into the tragedy, right? There was someone I had to find, here in the school. You had to find someone? Who?
So,
Well, it was the headmaster of Hope Speak Academy. The headmaster? Why did you want to find the headmaster? Because he's my father? Oh, what? That I did not see coming. The headmaster is her father. I mean, we already kind of said that the headmaster and the mastermind were different people. So I'm pretty sure that's still the case, right? We thought that, and I think it's still the case. Because the headmaster definitely isn't the person that put all of this into place. The headmaster is just the headmaster of the school before you know, the school had to close down. That's just basically the principal in a way, I guess. But he's obviously still in charge of the school, but the mastermind took over ever since the tragedy in a way. Or at least the mastermind put this plan into place. Well, technically the headmaster is still in charge of the school. What?
in other words,
I was separated from him as a child. As it turns out, he became the headmaster of Hope's Peak. Okay, that makes sense why she's... Like, why the headmaster, even if he knows what's going on here, which we don't know if he does, that, like, you know, he doesn't recognize Kyoko. It's like, what is my daughter doing here? So, yeah. Separated from as a child, huh? Kyoko's dad is Hope's Peak's Academy headmaster? Then that explains when Alter Ego told us how he thought the mastermind was involved. I'll find a way.
Huh?
No matter what it takes, I will find the headmaster.
no matter what?
That's why she was so determined. Like, this was one of the few moments where she showed emotion. Otherwise, she always has this blank face, showing no emotion, but this was definitely one of the few times. I remember it very clearly.
So,
Kyoko, what's going on? My memory hadn't come back at that point, but when he said that, I felt strange, like a trigger point, you know? Even if she has amnesia or something, there always this certain, like, the way that, at least in soap operas that I remember when I watched when I was little, I was forced to watch them. I didn't watch them of my own volition. I didn't choose to watch soap operas and stuff, you know, soap series. But I remember there was one in particular series where one girl had amnesia, And the way that she got it back was just people sort of reminding her of past events, you know? Like, you know, searching for these trigger moments, key points, and just like, and then her memory will be like, oh wait, I remember that, and then suddenly everything comes back to her, right? That didn't happen here, but it's like, it's one of those trigger moments where she's like, oh right, I kind of remember that from before. It makes perfect sense now, of course, since my whole purpose for coming here was to find him. That makes sense.
However,
But listen, Makoto, I want to make this perfectly clear so there's no misunderstanding. I said the headmaster wasn't the mastermind, but I didn't say that to protect him. I only said what I felt based on what I'd seen when I snuck into the headmaster's room. Then, what did you see in there?
so...
The room had been ransacked. The shelves were a mess. The desk drawers dumped on the floor. The only conclusion is that someone who didn't know where anything had been in there, so someone else was looking in there. You mean the mastermind, right?
It's true.
That was my assumption, yes. And to confirm my suspicion, I decided to investigate the second floor of the dorms using the key I'd found. Oh, we're getting to find out more stuff. But why there? Because I also found this in the headmaster's room. This is some kind of map?
Indeed.
It's a layout of the entirety of Hope's Peak Academy. I found it in the headmaster's room, along with Makuro's profile and that key. The map showed that the second floor was home to a number of rooms meant for faculty use. Some of the staff must have had to stay overnight from time to time, and I figured the headmaster would have some kind of private room there. I assumed that if that were true, that room would most likely hold more clues, so I went to check.
Correct.
And that's when I finally remembered. I remembered that my purpose was to find the owner of that room. So you went there to see if the headmaster really did have a private room there?
However,
But once I got there, I noticed that the second floor of the dorms didn't have any cameras or monitors, meaning it isn't part of this whole, you know, this whole thing that the mastermind and Monokuma set up. So it wasn't something that we're supposed to find, we're supposed to stumble upon. So, what was it like? That part of the school, I mean. It wouldn't surprise me if it was actually similar to like, remember that bloody room we found on the 5th floor with Byakuya? It's hard to describe. All I can say is, the moment I saw it, I realized whatever's going on in the school is more horrific than we ever imagined. What do you mean?
so...
I can't explain it. You need to see it for yourself. And I'm sure you'll get your chance soon enough. It sounds like it must be important and really ominous. There's more, right?
However,
Of course. No, right? Which is why I had no idea what was going on in the rest of the building. It has to do with Makuro Ikusaba, doesn't it? Like, yeah, it has to. Like, where else would that person have been? If she was supposedly part of the game, yet we never saw her? That's so weird.
however,
Just to be perfectly clear, I didn't kill her. And I know it wasn't you either, but then who is? And if I didn't kill her, how come Monokuma doesn't know? Then this is part of Monokuma's plan for me to get framed into this, right? But then that means that isn't he breaking his own rules then, because everything had to be fair, right? As according to the class trial. Or maybe this is something that even Monokuma doesn't know about. I know you're right, but that just means everybody but you and me had an alibi. So then who did kill her?
anyway,
What I can say for sure is that the mastermind is directly involved. To begin with, the point of the class trial of Makuro Ikusaba was to get me killed. Get you killed?
indeed.
I stole that key and disappeared, and in retaliation, they wanted to draw me out and eliminate me.
Correct.
That was the point of the class trial. It was? The mastermind knew they couldn't interfere directly. You mean because of the school regulations?
That's right.
Exactly. With minimal restriction, you are free to explore at your discretion. Yeah, discretion.
In other words,
The mastermind is adamant about following the rules. And with that rule in place, they couldn't step in. Since they couldn't kill me themselves, they tried to use the class trial to do it. The mastermind couldn't step in because of the rules? I feel like we're actually going to probably, at the end of this, fuck over the mastermind because of his own rules. But this is what I really don't get. Why is he so adamant about sticking to his own rules, or to the rules in general? Like, I know Monokuma said that this was broadcasted around the entire, television, across the world on TV, and he wanted things to be fair because otherwise, otherwise it's just a rigged television program, which is probably not how they want to come across. So even the mastermind has to, stick to the rules because they want it to be as fair as possible. You can't just frame a person, which they actually did right now, or seems to have done with me, and wanted to do with Kyoko. Like, you can't put us in a situation in a class trial where it is 0% chance of us finding the right answer, then it's just rigged from the very moment, from the very beginning. That makes it sound like the mastermind themselves is somehow bound by the school regulations, which then means that it has to be one of the students, right? And if it is one of the students, the first one that comes to mind is Byakuya, but I don't know. Unless Monokuma is part of this game as well. I don't know, but why would the mastermind themselves be bound by the school regulations, unless they were part of it themselves?
hey,
There's one other thing I'd like to point out about the murder of Makuro Ikusaba. What's that? There was a point when Makuro may not have become the victim. It could have been you, Makoto. Oh yeah, we know that dream. I could have become the victim?
indeed.
You know what I'm talking about, right? Do you mean... Yep. During the night?
I
can hear them, The footsteps of the god of death. What? I can hear the god of death as he moves. What? I feel like up until now, she's always made sense with whatever she said, even if it was something like, I always felt like, okay, it makes sense what she says, or like, it will make sense eventually, but now it's like, the god of death, what? But I guess this will make sense later on as well. It's just, I felt like everything that she said, it just sounds reasonable always. It's not like, yeah, okay, but with like god of death, it's just like a term that's not really commonly used in the normal world, in the real world, Therefore, it just threw me off a bit that Kyoko would use that. Because it seems a bit unlike her, but she must have her reasons for saying that. That ability naturally draws me into cases like this.
anyway,
Which is exactly what happened with you. Ah, she's sort of saying like she has a sixth sense of like knowing when murders are happening or something. Therefore, that's part of her being the ultimate detective as well, right? I was in the dorms, and I had a sudden sense of dread. I looked down the stairwell, and I saw the white shadow cross the corridor. I gave chase right away. As I followed it, I saw the shadow go into your room. So if that person went into a room, that means they must have had a key. Because we locked our door. Or we didn't, but then the door got locked afterwards. Because remember what they said in the morning? We were fast asleep, right? And when they when Byakuya was gathering everyone up to eventually go to the gym to disassemble the Monokuma robot, they pounded on our door for several minutes, like thinking, Makoto, wake up, come with us to the gym. But we never answered, so our door was definitely locked at that point, otherwise they could have just entered. I ran into your room, and I saw what was happening. I intervened immediately, of course.
however,
That wasn't the end of things, of course. I stopped them, but that led to... Whoever the master assailant was, they ended up dead.
correct.
And their murder was disguised. and the dojo key wound up in my room. It all has to be the work of the mastermind in an attempt to use the class trial to eliminate me. So all this would mean that whoever killed Makuro is also the mastermind, right? Like, I'm trying to... The thing is, my entire approach to everything, right, is to sort of question everything, not trust anything completely. But I feel like I've done that entirely with Kyoko. What if Kyoko is actually the mastermind and she doesn't know it? But that wouldn't make sense. No. I don't know, I'm just trying to figure out, like, what are reasons for her to tell us or to lie to us or something. I don't know, I don't fucking know what I'm doing. No, like, I don't know, I just had this gut feeling from the beginning that Kyoko was someone I could trust, but that's just because of the way that she's been acting, right? And that's part of her, like, her detective instinct. And also part of the mystery that she wants to uncover herself, that she wants to find out. But, like, I feel like the reason that if the mastermind is bound by their own rules, it has to be one of the other students, right? It's definitely not us. I'd love to cross off Hero, and I guess I will. Hina, Toko, like, Toko I don't think so. Toko, Genocide Jack, and Mastermind, that's like too much for one person to be. So I don't think it's Toko. So then the other possibilities would be Kyoko, Hina, Byakuya. So, I don't know. There's just too little to go off to say definitely, but I just feel like I really like Kyoko, you know, I don't want her to die, I don't want her to possibly be mastermind or something, so that's the reason why I've never really, or haven't questioned her as much as I do with other people. She's like I just have a weak spot for her or something, I feel. But I hope she does, that's my thing, right? I just don't want my weak spot to be taken advantage of. That I just, you know, blindly follow her and then she just ends up having played me and played us the entire time. I don't think that's happened, right? Fuck it, I'm going for my weak spot again.
Indeed.
I trust you, Kyoko. I don't have conclusive evidence, but that's what I think. But that's really bad if true. It means the mastermind can kill whoever they want if they feel like it. Wait, but doesn't that create another contradiction? The mastermind wanted to use the class trial to try and kill you, because they didn't interfere, right?
Correct.
You're right. That is a contradiction. And it's not just Makuro. They needed the class trial to kill me, but seemed ready to kill you in your room. Everything they did is a contradiction. Yeah. So what does it all mean?
In other words,
It means that the mastermind is the one who's been cornered. That's true. The mastermind wouldn't resort to something like this if it didn't feel threatened, if it didn't feel like in a place that it had to resort to doing stuff like this, you know? Because this is probably not something that he intended to do at the very beginning. Therefore, he is the one that feels pressured and feels like, oh god, Kyoko is the dangerous person, or Makoto is a dangerous person. Let's try and get rid of those. Huh?
Makoto.
Just a little more. A little more. And I should be able to figure out the mastermind's identity. The identity of the other ultimate despair. Why other ultimate despair? So she's definitely still saying that Makuro was the ultimate despair, and now there's an other ultimate despair. The other ultimate despair? There's no doubt that Makuro was the ultimate despair, and that she is dead. But I don't think the ultimate despair is just one person. It's not?
Indeed.
If you think about it, the ultimate despair seems to implicate whoever caused that event. You're talking about the tragedy.
That's right.
What happened a year ago? The biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history. The tragedy. Whoever's responsible for that, they're the ultimate
It
despair?
would seem...
That despicable group whose only purpose and motivation comes from despair. Then they're...
Indeed.
Make no mistake. They're the root of all the evil that has forced us to go through this. That is the ultimate despair. And that is our real enemy. Chapter 5. Done. Still 6. To be continued. Hell freaking yeah.